This is part 2 of the assembly of a Staccato P. There's all the parts. Palm swell safety, your sear, your slide lock, left side of the safety, right side of the safety, your disconnector, sear spring, mag, release, hammer and strut, dowel pin, our set pins, back strap. This is a smaller one from Dawson Precision because this is my wife's gun. She has smaller hands. Here is your spring for your safety and your slide lock. Here's the frame, grip module, bow, and shoe. This is from Atlas. So let's go ahead and start. The first thing I like to do is put the disconnector and the sear together and set it in place. The disconnector and the sear sit into the frame like this. The flat surface points to the front of the gun. The hook, or this hook, faces to the grip or to the hammer. This has been pre-oiled. I don't use a lot of oil on this, but I try to keep it lubricated. Fits in this hole. Sometimes this can be a pain in the butt to put in. You have to be patient. I usually use a punch, double check it. It's set in place. I take my dowel pin and I run it in. See if I can do this one shot. Okay, we're in. So you have to be very cautious about this pin backing out. I like to work, once I have that in, I like working from the left side of the frame to the right side of the frame on everything. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the trigger or the bow and the shoe in to make sure it slides in and out freely with no hiccups or drags or anything. So it should run freely like this. Next thing I like to do is go ahead and set the mag release in. You need an Allen. Push it in, twist it clockwise, and it works. So now the grip module can go to the frame. What I like to do is I like to set it in and then double check my bow back here and make sure that my disconnector is on the back side of the bow, and I like to check it before I do anything else. That being said, I set my front Allen in first. I slightly tap it, goes in. I put a little bit of Loctite. I like using blue. This is just my preference, but I'm working on these all the time, so they're being taken apart and putting them back together quite a bit. I thoroughly clean these guns every 3,000 rounds to make sure everything's working. I try not to tighten everything super tight in the beginning because I want to make sure everything lines up pretty well. I'm just going to snug it. Now I'm going to set the spacer on the left side, or the nut, frame nut, module nut, however you want to call it, into place. Put a little bit of Loctite on have these tight with my fingers for right now. With my middle finger, I like to apply pressure right here so this does not fall out. So I do that. And then make sure a little Loctite up. Okay, next thing I like to do is set my sear spring in. I've already lubricated it. This groove here matches this edge here, so you need to set it in place. Like so. Make sure that the spring is on top of the bow and on top of the sear. This smaller backstrap from Dawson Precision it's a little bit smaller because my wife has smaller hands. And you just set the backstrap into place there just to hold the the sear spring in. I like to set the hammer in next. Sometimes the hole won't line up, so you have to push the trigger to relieve the tension. And you'll hear a click. And this should just fall into place now. Perfect. Next thing I do is I go ahead and I put the palm safety in, and I just kind of rest it in there. And I double check the strut while it's upside down. I take the right side safety lever and I stick it in place just to hold this in place. Push that down. I hold it in place. I just take a dowel pen or punch. I just stick it through the hole just to hold it so I can check my trigger. So what I'm checking for is I need it to click twice. There's the first click. There's the second click. So I know that this trigger is set. So we'll try it again. Click, click. All right. I set my spring in. The small portion of the spring, it's got the step, goes in first. I set the safety. So once the safety's set in, one lever's flush, one's not. So you push the hammer back, you'll raise them both up like you're gonna have a safety. You're gonna take a small punch or any flat screwdriver, and you're gonna push the spring back into the housing, and it clicks, just like that. Okay, double check your hammer, and it works. All right. So now, by holding everything tight, you're going to pull the punch out, and you're going to put the mag well on and drive the pin through. So you're going to do this. Might have to tap it. Give it a couple whacks. Check. Yep. So now with that being done, assembling your slide, I didn't want to take the whole slide apart. But you just stick your barrel through there. Spring, recoil spring. I run a buffer tube on this for my wife because we run a lighter recoil spring. Hammer back. Run the slide up, until it engages. Line up and set in place. Okay, the last thing I have to do is put the light on. Run a couple slides. And we're done. It's pretty simple to put one of these together, but remember to make sure you lock everything down now that it's all assembled. So that one's tight. That one's tight. These are tight. Now we are fully assembled and tight. Thank you for watching.